Hey there, folks, and welcome back to another episode of our venture in the visual novel, If My Heart Had Wings, Flight Diary. Last episode, there is still major quarrel between the Kazato sisters, and it's escalating more and more, to the point of basically insults. One is being declared as hopeless as the other is, and it's starting to heat up even more. In the last episode, when we ended, it was looking like it's about to just climax again. But they are now in a position where Kanako is nearby, so I'm suspecting that Kanako may be able to calm this down since she might be closer to the Kazato sisters than we know about. So with that, hopefully a resolve can be administered because this is just getting ridiculous. But it's also a lesson for all of us that when we see a loved one, regardless of the relationship level, but when we see a loved one and we're concerned about something that they're doing. Now, the context that I'm referring to when we see them doing something is, in this case, Asa wants to get her pilot's license. So yes, there are some risks with that. But the thing is Yoru is just pulling back so much that it's as if she's saying, just don't do it at all. So the issue with that, and of course there's possibly a lot of history with this because Asa had mentioned that Yoru was being overprotective of her, so there is definitely a lot of history with this. Maybe Asa has been reckless in the past, or maybe Yoru has been overprotective in the past, and maybe Asa did something that led to that overprotective mannerism to come forth in Yoru. But one of the lessons to learn is even though a person makes a mistake or they make a poor choice, we still need to guide them through safety factors and not just completely cut them off to constructive passions. See, with this, I'm referring to it as a constructive passion because there are those who are obviously doing things that are obviously illegal, and yeah, they definitely should not do that in that case. So in the context of constructive passions, it is necessary that we help guide the person through it, not just completely cut them off. So with that, we're not going to waste any more time. We're going to get through this and see where we're at. So with that, let's begin. I could feel a dangerous mood starting to build up. All right, let's see where this is going to lead up. And by the way, that was Kanako.
ひょるちゃんが姉さんが
Hey girls, how about
葵
we...
先輩は口を挟まないで。まあまあ、そこまでにしときなさいってね。
Aoi was already backing down. It was up to Kanako to defuse this situation.
二人ともそんな顔しないの。せっかくの可愛い顔が台無しだぞ。でも朝ちゃん、葵くんは朝ちゃんたちを心配して止めようとしてくれたんだから、さっきみたいな乱暴なこと言ったらダメよ。はい。ごめんなさい。それから夜ちゃん。何があったのかわからないけど、あんなトゲのある言い方をしないの。
Yeah, Yoru does have a sharp tongue.
あれじゃ朝ちゃんも怒っちゃうわよ。
The animosity in the room started to fade a little. Asa and Yoru actually deigned to look at each other. They had their issues, but underneath it all, you could tell they still cared about each other. The only problem was...
部屋に戻ります。
Yoru broke eye contact first and hurried away upstairs.
小鳥先輩、PC 貸していただけますか？いいわよ。ついてきなさい。はい。二人ともお疲れ様。
I commend you, Kanako. Seriously. But see, that's one of the lessons also is there are times to where it's really worse when we try to mediate a situation through aggressive statements. Sometimes we have to, of course, and this doesn't always work, but in this instance, sometimes that is when we remind the individuals of where their stance is and what their actions are actually doing to one another. Now, there are some cases to where it escalates beyond that and the person is just beyond reason. So in that particular case, there are other measures. But the thing is it needs to start on a diplomatic level and through necessary means of assertiveness, because there's a difference between being assertive and aggressive. Let it slowly build up to being assertive. Now, obviously, if they were going to start fighting, then yeah, there's a need to be assertive. And it's like, okay, look, no. If you guys are going to fight, then we definitely got to put some boundaries on that, because that ain't happening. But ultimately, the mentalities of Asa and Yoru was obviously that they still cared about each other. So when Kanako stepped in, and being that she most likely has a closer relationship with them, was able to say, hey, look, folks, your words are killing each other right now. It's like, it's one thing to be passionate. And this is one of the things that we have to learn about passion is there's a line between passion and aggression. So Asa is passionate about getting her pilot's license. Yoru is passionate about keeping Asa safe. But at a certain point, Yoru's passion, if you will, to keep Asa safe seemed to have turned into a form of aggression. So ultimately, it's just a situation where Yoru, you gotta let your sister learn. And that's learning is not always a glamorous trek. Sometimes there is a little bit of pain with it. Anyhow, thanks, Kanako. I didn't think there was any way of stopping those two.
いいよいいよ。私も二人の喧嘩なんて見たくないし。あ、もしかして今日早かったのも二人の喧嘩で？
It was a little hard to concentrate with all that tension in the air.
本当に息が詰まるかと思いました。
Nakaha sighed dramatically, even allowing for the way she always exaggerated. It must have been pretty tough.
まあでも心配することないと思うわよ。どうしてですか？だって喧嘩するほど仲がいいって言うじゃない。
Yeah, but still, it's unhealthy. It felt like I spent all my free time these days puzzling over the same problem. The Kazato sisters' renewed hostilities were making Soaring Club meetings pretty strained. They didn't outright argue anymore, but they were making a point of avoiding one another. Conversation had dwindled away to the bare minimum. I've got to do something about this. I didn't think either of them was willing to take the first step toward making up. And see, the thing too is these two are currently inexperienced. So when dealing with conflict, especially if the only examples they have of dealing with conflict is just insults and just standing your ground and everything, then this is the result of that. So when we go through disagreements and stuff, sometimes the atmospheres that we've been around on how others have actually dealt with this, and I'm speaking specifically in regards to how parents actually handle disputes between each other and their kids see that. Oftentimes the kids will grow up thinking, okay, well, this is how my parents handled it, so maybe that's how I'm supposed to handle it too. And then the parents are shocked when their kids deal with it in aggressive mannerisms. So, in a sense, Asa and Yoru are just inexperienced. So it's going to take good examples of people around them to show them how to actually deal with disagreements. But how was I supposed to encourage them to talk things out without seeming like I was taking sides? This is so tricky. And you know, Aoi makes a good point too, is you're not there to take sides. You're there to resolve the issue for both parties where possible. And it's a case-by-case basis depending on the subject matter and whatnot. But ultimately, never take sides.
Aoi-kun.
Huh? Hey! What the? I felt something pull on me from behind when all of a sudden the world around me started to blur. Oh my gosh. For a moment, I was staring at the ceiling. Then a blow to my back knocked the wind out of me.
ちょっと、大丈夫?
Bruh. I knew that voice. The pain faded and my eyes started to focus again. Kanako?
はい。とりあえず立ち上がりなさいって。
Thanks. I took Kanako's hand and hauled myself up. Oh man, that hurts.
もう、びっくりさせないでよね。私までひっくり返るとこだったわ。
Wow. What part of this is my fault exactly? You're the one who jumped me.
ごめんね。
So, did you need me for something?
特に何も。飲み物取りに来たら葵くんの背中があったから声をかけただけ。抱きつこうかなって思ったんだけど、そればっかりじゃ芸がないと思ってね。
So you blew in my ear instead.
そういうこと。
Seriously, you're gonna give me a heart attack one of these days.
はーい。次は素直に甘えます。
I'll take the hug from behind. That sounds more like it. Kanako sat down next to me, her expression a little more serious now.
一人で何悩んでたの?
I was just thinking is all.
考え事か。部活のことかな。それとも朝ちゃんと夜ちゃんのこととか。
Something along those lines. Plus, I've got to plan tonight's dinner too.
そっか。
Putting a finger to her lips, Kanako sank into a deep thought herself. Kanako?
ねえねえ、今日の夕飯ってもう決まっちゃってたりする?
No, not yet.
じゃあ、私リクエストしたいんだけど。
Sure, so long as it's something I can make.
久しぶりにそうめん食べたいなーって。
Somen, huh? Okay, let's go with that. It'll be nice and refreshing anyhow.
葵くんも楽することができるし。
I'm not gonna phone it in, if that's what you're thinking. Then again, I didn't think of picking up any somen when I went shopping last week, so we didn't have any on hand. I'll have to go out and stock up first.
どこまで行くの?
Probably just the underground market at Wendy's.
了解。それじゃあ行こっか。
Oh, you're coming too?
何よその顔は。私がついていっちゃダメなの?
That's not it. I'm just surprised is all. Faced with a choice between going out or waiting around at home, Kanako usually went with the path that required the least effort.
あのね、私だってダラダラしてばかりじゃないんだから。葵くんも一人で買い物なんてつまんないでしょ?
No, not really. Kanako sighed. Actually, it was more like a groan. Had that been the wrong thing to say?
もう一緒にいたいって言ってるのに。
Why not just say that then? I mean, seriously, just say that. I'm sorry, but it's just like, why we gotta go through all of these indirect communications? But if anything, I get it from her standpoint to where Aoi could have been like, oh, so you want to go with me? Okay, let's go. So I will get her point in that regard. On the other side, it's like, can we not do indirect communications? I'm just saying. Help me out, folks. If there's something else I'm missing, help me out with that. Leave it in the comments. Oh. Kanako and me. Spending time together. Yeah, that's what I heard couples do. It took a moment for the meaning of those words to sink in, but when they did, my pulse started to race right away. Satisfied that I got the message, Kanako smiled.
それじゃのんびり行きましょうか。
Sounds good. For once, I'm in no hurry at all. Oh boy.
いつ来ても賑やかね、ここは。
Probably because it's a holiday. The weather was great. Just like it had been at the start of summer. There were a ton of people out and about, taking full advantage of the sun while it still lasted. More than a few of them were couples walking hand in hand. These lovers walked and chatted together, lost in their own little worlds. Kanako kept glancing back and forth at the people around us.
ねえ、葵くん。
Yeah.
あ、人多いし、やっぱり帰ろうか。
We only just got here.
冗談よ、冗談。
Chuckling to herself, she sidled a little closer to me. In one smooth motion, she slipped her arm through mine. Kanako?
ダメ？
Okay. Even I'm like, dude, come on. No, of course I do. I was just a little surprised. Okay. In this regard, I'm gonna have to say Kanako is more in the right, because it's like, come on, you two are a couple, you're hanging out together, you're enjoying each other's company.
ありがとう。
Just the sight of her gentle smile was enough to get my heart beating faster. Kanako was always like this. I had to be on my guard around her or I'd fall victim to every little prank that came into her head. Okay, I can see where he's coming from in that regard, because if she was doing another prank, then yeah, I can see why he would be a little bit on edge. But that was all part of her charm. Oh hey, do you mind if we drop by the bookstore before we get to the food?
いいわよ。何かあるの？
Well, there are some new comics coming out today and... We were passing more and more couples. And they were all coming from the same direction. Oh, right. That place is just up ahead, isn't it?
うん、多分そうね。ほら、あんなに並んでる。
Kanako pointed to the chic little cafe where crowds of people were waiting to get in. I don't see any people.
かの有名なカフェフラックス。相変わらずすごい人気よね。
Everyone around here had heard of Cafe Flags. Its main selling point was the delicious high-class confections personally crafted by a famous... What?! Its main selling point was their delicious high-class confections personally crafted by a famous pâtissier. I actually had to look that up and listen to the pronunciation. According to Agaha, it was the #1 location for dates in Wendy's, and maybe even the whole town.
おー、どれも美味しそうね。
You're right about that. We took a quick look at the notice board set up outside the cafe. The regular menu, specials, and limited run seasonal items were all there, complete with photos.
やっぱり一押しはミルフィーユなのね。
One slice for 1,300 yen. They must really have confidence in the quality of their stuff.
それだけ美味しいってことでしょ。
Her eyes were sparkling even more than usual as they scanned the selection of treats. This store was popular with couples. Up close, the line wasn't really all that big. We could probably get in without having to wait too long. Kanako,
ごめんごめん。そろそろ買い出し行こっか。
I can wait. You want to check this place out?
寄っていくってフラックスに？
Yeah, we can do the shopping after. We still have plenty of time. Food shopping after would be easy, especially since we knew exactly what we needed to get. The line's pretty short now. I bet we can get in and out in no time.
なんとも魅力的な提案ね。
Well then, shall we?
でもいいや。
Huh? Are you sure? And we're gonna find out if she's actually sure on the next episode. Oh my gosh, the cliffhanger. Oh my god. Look, Kanako, I gotta leave a decent cliffhanger, okay? I get it, yeah. I know, but I gotta leave a cliffhanger, okay? I'm not trying to be a party pooper, but I gotta leave a decent cliffhanger, all right? We'll get to it. Well, with that, I want to thank everyone for watching this video this time around. If you like what you saw, maybe consider leaving a like. And if you want to see more, maybe consider subscribing. And until next time, happy mixing, everyone.